All right, so this is the story of day one, which is essentially what happened. How did this all start? It's really the seizure that landed me in the hospital, but more importantly, what were the warning signs? Were there any warning signs? Um, I do want to forewarn you. Brad and I are going to talk about the story and how it all went down when I had a seizure. And I want to be clear, we when he tells the story, because obviously a lot of it I don't remember, and I was in a seizure, so I wasn't there for it. But I do laugh because, in a way, it's kind of funny to me, like how he explains it. But in no way is this any indication of me not understanding the seriousness of it or the gravity of it. If anything, it's probably more of a defense mechanism that I joke or laugh about things. It's sort of my natural disposition. But um, let me be clear, a seizure is scary. Even Brad dealing with this seizure, I know there's been some things around him experiencing it. Somebody experiencing a seizure is often incredibly traumatic. And so I just wanted to sort of forewarn you, because I do laugh a little bit. But it's a very scary situation, I'm sure, because I've actually never dealt with somebody having a seizure in front of me. But fortunately, he was there. Fortunately, he kind of knew what to do. And so you'll hear the story of the seizure, but you'll also hear some things leading up to it and some indications leading up that I didn't realize were precursors to this seizure. And I mentioned this Peloton ride that I have, this Peloton ride that I had that was the week prior. And I've come to learn that that potentially was like an aura, which is an indication of a seizure, or like, I'm probably not saying this correctly, but almost like a micro seizure. So if you ever hear aura, apparently that's kind of what I experience when I talk about my Peloton ride. Nonetheless, long time overdue, the story of sort of how this all began and how, this was the beginning of when my life flipped upside down. So here's day one. All right, Hitchhiker's Guide to Cancer, day one. Full disclosure, this is technically day 59, but the story has to be told on what had happened. So a lot of people have been asking me, how did this go down? What was the story? Obviously, this led with a seizure. So I'm going to get into the story. And Brad, you can go ahead and switch over, but I need you here because you're a part of this story, and you can fill in the blanks of a lot of things that actually I was not aware of. So when you get glioblastoma, or when you get a brain tumor, it often, if not always, begins with a seizure, and that's exactly what happened. So we were sitting right here, Monday, January 31st, right before our live stream, and we were working through titles. So I'm going to tell the story until I remember, then I'm going to have to kick it over to you.
Okay.
Come in. I had just been driving, which is kind of scary over this whole situation, but I had just been driving. We were no more than like 20 minutes into sitting down, and we're going through working titles. And all I know is I'm trying to talk to you, and whatever I was thinking I was saying, I could tell was not coming out of my mouth. It was just a bunch of gibberish. I explained it as I was almost like short circuiting. And the last thing I remember is essentially you being like, "Hey, bro, are you having a stroke?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I go, "I think I need to get water." And I get up to get water, and I don't remember anything else. So you're gonna have to pick it up from there.
Yeah. So you walked out, never even made it to the fridge, and turned right back around, and then sat on that couch over right there. And then you just sat there and just was like, I guess, beside yourself, like, what the fuck is happening to me? and I asked you the same thing. I was like, are you okay? Like, do we need to go to emergency room or something, or urgent care or whatever? And you're just kind of like, I don't know, something don't feel right. Because then we were joking when you like short circuited here. I was like, what the fuck? Like, whatever's going out your face. But then, obviously you went into full blown seizure. You just kind of like seized up and you did one of these.
I don't know why I think it's so funny. And I think it's weird that I laugh about it. But when you told me the story about how I did like this,
bro, listen, right in the camera. It was like this. Like you were trying to reach, like, what the fuck? Something's happening. I have no idea what's going on. So it was like obviously extreme fear, because you're just like, my body's going through something that I have no idea what's happening. And then I was just like, at first, because then like my first initial thought was like, oh shit, he's having a stroke. Because, I saw the drooping lip and stuff like that when we were talking. And that was like my first thought. But then you started, shaking real bad, and you just tensed up. And so then I ended up laying on the couch on your side.
So I'm just sitting there shaking, like I was just sitting like
You just
upright.
like you just like kind of froze and then started kind of like, convulsing or whatever. And then, I ended up just putting you on
Are
your
my
side on the
eyes
couch.
like rolled behind my head, or are they like closed, or how does that?
Yeah, they were closed. You had like some fluttering and stuff like that, but they were closed for the most part.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you just lay me down.
Yeah. So like you were, just laying on or sitting on the couch upright. So then I just ended up turning you onto your side because I was like, I don't know what's happening here, but it's probably not good that you're sitting up.
Well, and it's good to know for people, and I didn't know this. Obviously, you have a little bit more experience, but for people who have seizures, the protocol is you lay them on their side.
Yeah.
So they don't. Is it so they don't bite their tongue, or so they don't like choke on their tongue?
So they don't choke on their tongue.
And then
It
you
doesn't block your airway.
you let them go, like
Right.
you don't touch them.
Yeah.
You let them do their thing.
Yeah.
And so it lasted for how long?
Probably a solid 2.5.
That's a long ass 2.5 minutes.
Yes, it felt like an hour.
So okay, so you see that, and then you called 911.
Yes.
I come to, have no idea what's going on, extreme nauseousness, feel sick, and all I see is three firefighters walk in, and then Lindsay walked in. As I recall, it seemed at the same time, but I don't know when she came in.
Yeah.
But I see them, and I can't answer basic questions. They asked me what year it was, and I was like, I have no clue. They recommended I go to urgent care, which, to note, don't go to urgent care, go directly to the ER.
Don't take medical advice from firefighters. the real lesson.
So apparently, like, one of the ambulances was like delayed or backed up.
Yeah. So the firefighters were like, this is still like Omicron was, a thing here. And so the hospital beds were full. And whoever the ambulance had on their stretcher or whatever, they were trying to get into the hospital that was supposed to come to you.
Yeah.
So the backup was they were trying to find an empty bed for the person they had in the ambulance at the current time so they could come get you. And so we were waiting forever. And then I actually just talked to the firefighters. I was like, would it be just quicker if we just got them somewhere?
Yeah.
To just drive them ourselves? And they were like, yeah. So that was.
So we go to urgent care, and I don't really remember much of it. Walk in, get back to the room. They're like, what are you doing here? Get to the ER.
Pause real quick, because
I told.
There was, well,
I heard
you had asked me if I could take you, and Lindsay was right there. And obviously you have no good judgment at that point, but she just like looked at me, and I was like, I mean, I don't care. But Lindsay's like, I'm taking him.
Yeah, she was
very adamant about that.
Don't judge me for what I say after seizure.
You didn't even know what year it was. So.
I know. She wasn't happy about that. But so they were just like, what are you doing here? Go to the ER. Take me to the ER. And this is another important thing to learn, because as anybody who's watched the other episodes, I've had some challenges with the hospital I landed with, and I'm going to stop naming that hospital.
Yeah.
But there were some certain challenges. There were some good things, but I landed there because I was the closest ER, and you're stuck with that team.
Right.
So that's an important distinction to remember as well, that I didn't know, and you don't even think about, but you're stuck with that team. So that's that was January 31st. That was a Monday that happened. I landed the ER, and then the whole process begins. February 11th is when I had surgery. So I had my treatment, and it was supposed to be that Thursday.
Yeah.
So they scheduled a craniotomy, a resection, that Thursday. And because of the other things, I decided to do a different treatment path. February 11th, that's quick from not knowing you have anything wrong with you,
right,
to then all of a sudden they're drilling a hole in your head by January 11th. So that's how it went down initially.
And honestly, I think it probably would have been even more scary. I mean, at least you had, it's hard to really kind of fathom this because I haven't been through it, but I would imagine that it probably would have been even more scary. It's like you have a seizure on Monday, that Thursday. So what, 40, 72 hours later, you're getting your head cut open. Yeah.
And I didn't even know that. Yeah. And I thought that was the only option.
Yeah.
So that was standard of care. And apparently that's what should have been done. But regardless, at least I had the weekend to think about it, and I landed on the decision I landed. But even then, February 11th is really
so fast. Yeah.
Really, really quick as far as how that all went down. So one of the questions people ask me is, any warning signs regarding that? So there were two, I just didn't realize it. Like I said, this happened on a Monday, January 31st. The previous Monday, which was the 24th, I was on a Peloton bike, and I do a ride, virtual ride with my buddies. We all do the same ride. It's a 30-minute ride, and 15 minutes in, and I have a screenshot of, like, when you look at the Peloton ride, 15 minutes in, I'm cooking. All of a sudden, I start getting these optical illusions. And so what I know now is the tumors on the right side affects my left eye and my left vision. All of a sudden I start seeing almost like, when there's a photo, like where there's a flash, you close your eyes and you kind of see objects moving around.
Yeah.
It was like that with my eyes wide open. So I could see the screen, like I could see light, but I couldn't make anything out. And all of a sudden I see these objects. It was like hallucinations. Massive wave of nausea comes over me, and I have to get off the bike. I'm like, I think I'm going to pass out. Get off the bike for maybe 30 seconds. I'm at that table right there. Take a couple deep breaths, calm down, get back on the bike and ride another 15 minutes, finish my ride.
Yeah.
Message my boys, was like, this was weird. And we were like joking around, had no clue what it was, but that was a warning sign.
I think you told me that you thought it was like pre-workout or something.
I had taken pre-workout that day, which I never do. So I thought it was pre-workout.
Yeah.
And imagine if I would have been on that bike and passed out, clipped in, like found me like clipped in, like seizing up.
What about like if you woke up and you're just like slumped over?
I would have like blown out my knee for sure.
Oh my God. Both of them.
Well, it definitely would have fell over.
Yeah.
But I would have not known what was happening. Nobody was here. 2 weeks prior to that, I was walking into Whole Foods and I literally walk right in, get to the top of the ramp, and I can only describe it as what I think vertigo is. I've never experienced vertigo, but again, this nausea overcomes me, dizzy. I have to literally lean against the railing, walk outside, lean against my car, take a couple deep breaths, fresh air. Again, 30 seconds. And then I go back inside, go on with my day, nothing.
Yeah.
Those were the only things that happened. But they were all within a few weeks of the seizure. And I didn't even think twice about it.
Yeah. I mean, why would you?
It's crazy.
Nobody would think anything like that.
Yeah. So I wish there was something more I could do, but I think the lessons are like, obviously, sort of how to handle a seizure. That's one of the things I wanted people to know that I don't think is common knowledge. And I mean, maybe paying a little bit more attention to like, there's no such thing as being too safe. So that is kind of a big deal out of the blue. You're just like, I feel extremely nauseous, happens 2 weeks in a row. Maybe that should be cause for concern, but there was nothing huge.
Yeah.
But it escalated really quickly. And then the last question I get is, how long did I have it? I asked this question today to the doctor. They don't know exactly, but what he had said, just because it's a glioblastoma, which is very fast growing, his best guess is a couple months. So, which seems really quickly. I thought this could be like a cell a year plus.
Yeah, I was shocked by that. I thought that maybe it was just living in there and all of a sudden it started to mutate.
And it could be weeks or months, right? So he's like, it could be weeks or months. Most likely it was a couple to a few months. But also that does make sense because that week between when I was going to have the craniotomy, so when I had the laser surgery, like the MRIs they had, it was the size of a grape. He said it grew just in that week. So that's how fast this thing grows. So I guess that does make sense that it could be a few months.
Yeah.
They just, when that first tumor cell came, you don't know, there's no indication of that, but certainly really quickly. But again, guys, that's the episode. Every Friday at noon, every Monday, we'll do Friday updates. We do Monday journey. Make sure you guys check out the links in the description, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye. I was looking at the wrong camera the whole time.